How you doing? Mr. DJ's here trying to simulate some great information I did some research on. Some of these things are just hardening like cement in my mind how a certain song came about. But the song I want to talk to you about first on Billboard's Hot 100 of June 7th, 1969, boy, Gary Lewis, the Playboys, trying to make a comeback with a remake of oh gosh, Rhythm of the Falling Rain. It is on here somewhere and I lost it. My goodness. Just bear with me. I'm looking down Billboard's Hot 100. I got Seattle by Perry Como, Welcome Me Love by Brooklyn Bridge. I would like to talk about that one. Maybe I'll spend another night on 1969. Dyke and the Blazers. Here it is, Rhythm of the Rain at number 63. Up 2 from 65 was not a big hit for Gary Lewis and the Playboys. Gary Lewis and the Playboys, Gary Lewis was drafted into the Army in January 1967. He was in the Army for about a year and a half. He continued to release records, but they were not doing as well as the records he came out with in 65 and 66. His last really big hit, Sealed with a Kiss, when he covered Sealed with a Kiss by Brian Hyland, originally done by Brian Hyland, and that came out I believe after he got mustered out of the Army and came out with Rhythm of the Fallen Rain, which was, of course, done by the Cascades in 1962. And the guy who wrote that song by the Cascades, group member John Claude Gomo, or Gomo, I believe is how you pronounce his last name. The original version went to number 3 here in the States, number 5 in England. Gary Lewis, the Playboys. Now, a lot has been said about Gary Lewis and the Playboys that they didn't really sing on that record. And I'm going to try to piece together this for you real quick. Gary Lewis and the Playboys, they were originally known as the Playboys. They played gigs at Disneyland. They came to the attention of a producer named Snuff Garrett. Snuff Garrett, a crack producer already by 1965, 64. He had already produced hit records by Bobby Fee, including Take Good Care of My Baby. Well, first off, Snuff Garrett, let's change the name. Let's make it Gary Lewis and the Playboys because Snuff Garrett wanted to capitalize on Gary Lewis's famous name, the famous last name, Gary Lewis, the son of Jerry Lewis. Now, the making of their first record, This Diamond Ring, Snuff Garrett took him into the studio to make This Diamond Ring, the record, Diamond Ring. Gary Lewis and the Playboys did not play their instruments on this record. They played on the backing tracks, but the bulk of the instrumentation was handled by the Wrecking Crew. Again, we keep coming back to these crack LA session musicians when you talk about songs that were produced on the West Coast. Hal Blaine played on drums on this record. Joe Osborne, bass player, worked with the Beach Boys, played bass on this record. And of course, the legendary Leon Russell played keyboards on This Diamond Ring. Another card carrying member of the Wrecking Crew, Leon Russell, before he got famous as a solo artist later on in the 60s and early 70s. The keyboard solos, the guitar solos, the overdubs will be handled by these crack session musicians because you got to understand how this works in the business. These producers, going back to the 60s, Snuff Garrett or Steve Barry, who produced the Grassroots, or Bones Howe, who produced the Associations of Fifth Dimension, they want to maximize the chances of having a hit. And often a group does not play as well in the studio as they do live. It's one thing to play live, but it's quite another thing to play in the studio. Therefore, a lot of these producers, they will get or hire out these crack session musicians to play. Tell them what to play, and they deliver, and they're good. They're great at it. It hurts the egos of the band members sometimes, but, it's a reality. Now, this is the clincher. The singing part of This Diamond Ring by Gary Lewis and the Playboys. The basic vocal track of that record was laid down by a guy named Ron Hicklin. Ron Hicklin, a crack session singer, a professional singer. He would assemble a group of singers later on in the 60s. They would sing they would back the Partridge Family. They'd sing on Partridge Family records, but that's in the future. Ron Hicklin sang the basic vocal track. Then Snuff Garrett added 2 tracks of Gary Lewis himself singing on top of Ron Hicklins, and then on top of that, he added another track of Ron Hicklins singing along with the Playboys, and made Gary Lewis sound like, I mean, my goodness. Milli Vanilli, they were not the first, not by any means. Snuff Garrett was a friggin' genius. I suspect he did this on a lot of Gary Lewis records. I mean, it launched a string of hits. Memorable hits in 60. It doesn't even matter if it's just one person singing or if it's just a bunch of people singing on one track or something. But Sure Gonna Miss Her, Count Me In, remember Count Me In? And Everybody Loves a Clown, Just My Style, and Green Grass. My Heart's a Symphony. Hits 1964, 66. Just could not go wrong. Well, anyway, just I had to talk about this Diamond Ring, but let's go to this record by Gary Lewis and the Playboys, Rhythm of the Rain, which comes in. You know, I even forgot chart position. It went as high as number 63 on Billboard's Hot 100. That's it. Let me bring that up for you again real quick. I can't find it again. It's one of those nights. One of those nights, I'm telling you. It's down here on Billboard's Hot 100. Well, Rhythm of the Rain at number 63. That's it. Gary Lewis and the Playboys on Billboard's Hot 100, June 7th, 1969.